Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. Here we would discuss what exactly is angle modulation. So, up until now, we have already seen that if the carrier is given as AC cos omega ct plus theta, alright. Now, the two parts of this carrier are essentially one which is the amplitude and another which is the angle. Okay, so if the modulating signal or the baseband signal or the message signal is changing the amplitude of the carrier, we called it as amplitude modulation, right? We saw the various sub modulation types of AM bar, basically DSB, SC, right? DSBC, SSB, SC, and VSPSC. These were the subtypes of AM. Okay, now if the modulating signal were to modulate this part, which is nothing but the angle, we call it as angle modulation. Okay, and the two major parts of angle modulation are frequency modulation and your phase modulation. All right, so now let us first see what exactly happens when we try to modulate the angle, and we would also see the relation between frequency and phase modulation. Okay, so basically in this lecture we would see the basics of an your angle modulation. You would also see the relation between FM and PM. Okay, and then we would see the modulation index of FM. All right, we would see narrow band FM, what exactly is wide band FM, right? And also we would see something called as Carson's rule. Okay, so this is the basic overview of this lecture. All right, so let us see what happens when we try to modulate the angle of a carrier. Okay, so let us begin with phase modulation. Okay, so say your carrier CT. Okay, so I am basically beginning with phase modulation. Okay, so let's say that the carrier is nothing but AC cos omega ct plus theta. All right, now as you can see that just like in case of amplitude modulation, the modulating signal changed the amplitude of the carrier. Okay, but here we would be changing the angle of the carrier, and when we are talking about phase modulation, we would be changing the phase of the carrier. Now what exactly is the phase part of the carrier? This thing. Okay, so I can write that phi pmt. Okay, this is the phase modulated signal. Okay, this is nothing but AC cos omega ct plus, I can say, kpmt. All right, or okay, we can, for now we can say kpmt actually, or we can just use the notation mf also, where kp is basically the modulating factor of your phase modulation. Okay, it is a constant that basically tells you how much of the message signal is basically changing the phase of your carrier. Okay, so now if this is basically the modulated wave in case of phase modulated signal. Okay, so now I can say that my instantaneous angle is nothing but this part. This is my instantaneous angle, right? AC cos theta. This theta is the one which you are modulating. Okay, and who is modulating? What part of that theta you are modulating? The phase part of that you are modulating using MT. Okay, so I can say that if my instantaneous angle psi I of t, this is my instantaneous angle. Okay, this will be nothing but omega ct plus kp times mt. Okay, now the relation between angle and frequency is very simple. The rate of change of angle is nothing but the angular frequency. Okay, so if I were to differentiate this d by dt of psi it, I would get something called as instantaneous frequency omega I of t, right? This is nothing but the instantaneous frequency, and what it would be, since I am doing the derivative process on both sides, I would get this to be as omega c plus kp d by dt of your mt. All right, now what does this tell me exactly? That just the phase modulation is basically also changing the instantaneous frequency of the signal as well. Okay, because just like I wrote this thing 5 pmt, right? In case of frequency modulation, right? In case of frequency modulation, I can write that my phi of fmt is nothing but AC cos. Now in place of omega I, in place of the frequency omega c, I will have, I can write it like this, wait a minute, omega c plus kp, or now since we are dealing with fm, we can use kf mt, right? This omega c and plus your theta, whatever that angle is, right? Okay, so now your message signal or your modulating signal is present here, right? In the part of the frequency, your modulating signal is now basically changing the frequency part of the carrier. Okay, so what we can say from this discussion that we just had, from this conclusion over here, we can say that if I am doing the phase modulation of MT, okay, it automatically means that I am doing frequency modulation of d by dt of MT. Okay, just like say if I were to take my signal MT, okay, and say I integrated that MT, okay, let me call this signal to be GT, okay, and let me do the phase modulation of this signal. Okay, what I can get, it will basically be, if I do the phase modulation of this signal, what I will get is AC cos omega ct plus integral mt dt. Okay, so what have I done? I have basically done the phase modulation of my signal which I have integrated. Now my modulating signal is not empty, it is integral of empty dt. Okay, so again we can go over that same process, right? My instantaneous angle psi of it is nothing but omega ct plus integral of empty dt. Okay, so I can say that my instantaneous frequency, okay, again it will be the derivative of instantaneous angle, and that will be omega c plus mt. Okay, so what have I done over here? What is the conclusion from this thing? That if you take mt, right, you integrate it and then you take the phase modulation, you do the phase modulation on the integral of that signal, you eventually get the frequency modulation of mt. All right, and similarly what you can say from this discussion here, that if you were to take your signal mt and do the phase modulation, right, here you have done the phase modulation of mt. So what does that mean? That you are actually doing the frequency modulation for derivative of that signal. Okay, so in short I will just write this as in conclusion, that say I am taking mt. Okay, I am taking mt, right, I am doing this, I have integrated mt and then I do the phase modulation on this signal integral mt dt. Okay, so what do I get? I get FM of frequency modulation of signal with MT as modulating signal. Alright, and similarly if I were to take MT, do the derivative of this, right, d by dt of MT. Alright, this is the same thing which we have done over here. Right, this instantaneous frequency is nothing but omega c plus kp times d by dt of mt. Right, you have basically done the phase modulation of d by dt of mt. Okay, so now if you were to do the phase modulation, I'm sorry, if you were to do the frequency modulation of this signal, you would get the phase modulation of signal with mt as the modulating signal. All right, so this is the relationship between your FM and PM. So basically if a signal is being angle modulated, you are actually seeing PM and FM both. Okay, if I say that a signal is being frequency modulated, okay, so I can also say that a different version of the modulating signal is doing the phase modulation as well. All right, so these two things are happening together. Okay, so this is basically the relationship between your FM modulated wave and phase modulated wave. All right, all you need to know is that the instantaneous angle psi it, right, if you want to write the instantaneous angle psi, you can write it as integral of omega I dt, omega it, right, or if you want to write it otherwise, you can say that instantaneous frequency is the rate of change of instantaneous angle. Okay, so it is just based upon the simple fact. All right, so if a signal is basically doing the phase modulation, right, it is changing just the angle Okay, so I can basically integrate that particular signal and then do the phase modulation. So I will get the frequency modulation of original signal. Okay, and in converse, if I were to take the message signal, take the derivative of it, right, and do the frequency modulation. Okay, then I would get the phase modulation of the MT. Okay, all right. Now, the next part we have to see is basically the modulation index of your FM. All right. Modulation index of frequency modulation wave. Okay, so modulation index basically means that the extent that the modulating signal is changing the carrier. This is basically the impression that we derive from modulation index. Okay, so in case of amplitude modulation, we had that the modulating signal was changing the amplitude of the carrier. The extent of that change was denoted from the modulation index. In case of frequency modulation, the modulating signal's amplitude is basically changing the frequency, or the we can just say the angle of the carrier, and the extent of that change is basically denoted by that modulation index. Okay, so let us first take the general representation. So let us see that phi of t is basically say AC cos omega ct plus mf sine omega mt. Let us take a small example over here. All right, so here all you can see that you are basically changing the phase of the carrier. You can see this, right? Because the change, the modulating signal is modulating the phase part of the carrier. Okay, so now I can say that my maximum deviation, okay, the first thing that we can see over here is that the maximum deviation in angle is basically the maximum rate of change of your modulating signal. Okay, so okay, let us first denote the basics, which is basically the instantaneous angle. Psi it can be written as omega ct plus mf sine omega mt. Okay, now if this is your instantaneous angle, okay, so what will be the instantaneous frequency? It will be omega c plus what I can do over here, mf omega m cos omega mt. Okay, so this is my instantaneous frequency, right? This is what is happening in case of frequency modulation. Okay, if your carrier is like this, right, if this is your ct and the modulating signal mt is something like this, right? So what is happening, the wherever the modulating signal is very high, you have a higher frequency component. So basically the output would look something like this, right? Something like that. So what exactly is happening over here is that your modulating signal's maximum amplitude is the one that is responsible for the maximum omega it. Okay, so here comes the concept of your frequency deviation. Okay, so frequency deviation is, as the name suggests, it is the deviation of instantaneous frequency. Okay, the maximum deviation, okay, the maximum deviation of instantaneous frequency from the center value or the center frequency. All right, so what is the maximum rate of change? You can say that cos omega mt has the maximum value of 1. Okay, so I can say that the frequency deviation or delta omega max will be maximum value of this mf omega m cos omega mt, which is nothing but mf times omega m. Okay, so this is my maximum frequency deviation. Okay, so you can say that if a modulating signal is changing the center frequency of your uh, carrier to a larger extent, it is modulating that carrier more. Or in other words, if your modulating signal has having a very high frequency deviation, okay, with respect to the center frequency, this frequency deviation has a uh, corresponding connection with the center frequency. Okay, say your carrier frequency or center frequency is at 100 kilohertz, okay, and delta omega is say only 1 hertz, then the deviation with comparison to the carrier frequency is extremely less. But if that 100 kilohertz becomes just say 100 hertz, okay, then that ratio basically is now very large. 1 over 100 is more than 1 over 100 kilohertz. Okay, so now we can define your modulation index of FM. Okay, this is basically delta omega, which is your frequency deviation by the carrier frequency omega c. So it basically becomes mf omega m divided by your center frequency omega c. Okay, so what is the conclusion that we can derive from here? That the modulation index of frequency modulated wave is, as you can see from here, it is dependent upon the bandwidth of your signal. Okay, dependent on bandwidth of the signal, bandwidth and the carrier frequency of the signal. Okay, now say somebody were to increase the bandwidth of this signal, keeping the center frequency constant, the modulation index will be higher. If you are increasing the bandwidth, you are increasing omega m. All right, so your modulation index now becomes basically mf omega m upon omega c. All right, so after discussing the modulation index of FM, we can go towards narrow band FM. Okay, now in order to generate frequency modulated wave, we have basically two kinds of schemes, wherein first, if the modulation or if the value of your kf or the constant is less than 1, okay, say your phi fmt is basically given as AC cos omega ct plus kf mt. Okay, you can see that this is actually the phase modulated version, but this is how it is denoted. So now if this constant, if this constant kf is less than 1, okay, we can go for something called as narrow band FM. Now what exactly is narrow band FM? Let us first denote this as an phasor. Okay, before going to this notation of narrow band FM, one thing has to be completely understood, that if we are taking signal mt and then doing the integral of it, and then doing the phase modulation of it, we are actually getting the frequency modulated wave of MT. Okay, because here if you see kf times MT, this is basically changing the phase part of your carrier. Okay, because denoting in this format is easier. If otherwise we have to denote a frequency modulated wave, I will have to just write it in the instantaneous frequency format. I hope you are getting the point. If someone has to say write AC cos omega I t plus theta, wherein omega I is equal to your omega c plus kf mt. This is one way of writing your frequency modulated wave, but otherwise you can just directly write it in a phase modulated format. Now you know the relationship between a phase modulated and frequency modulated wave, right? So let us first write this in a phasor notation. Okay, so this same thing I can write it as real part of AC e to the power j omega ct plus kf times of mt. The whole angle has now become the angle of your complex exponential. Okay, we all know that e to the power j theta is cos theta plus j sin theta, but we are only interested in the real part because we have only cos here, we don't have the imaginary part. Okay, so I can write this as phi of fmt to be this. Okay, so now, okay, one small correction. Now since we are dealing with actually the phase modulated notation, here we can write this to be as gt. Okay, I can write it to be as gt. Okay, and gt is nothing but integral of mt dt. All right, we have integrated the modulating signal and then we are doing the phase modulation on that signal. All right, so here also I would make that small change. This is g of t. Okay, right. So now how can we expand this? This thing basically becomes real part of AC e to the power, I'm sorry for that, let us write it in a proper way, AC e to the power j omega ct into e to the power j kf times gt. Okay, now we can have the approximation part over here, that say if kf is less than 1, okay, it is only valid for that. We can write this as real part of AC e to the power j omega ct into 1 plus j kf gt. Okay, so let me change the bracket over here. All right, so if I were to expand this, it becomes real part of AC cos omega ct plus j sin omega ct into 1 plus j kf gt. Okay, now if I have to just collect the real terms, what you would get, you would get AC. Okay, AC is there everywhere, so AC comes outside. We have cos omega ct. All right, then we have a imaginary term there, then you can have minus kf gt sin omega ct. All right, so this is nothing but the denotation of your narrow band FM. Okay, so as you can see, this basically does not look exactly like a frequency modulated wave. If I were to draw the magnitude spectrum of this, you would basically see this to be very much closer to your double sideband expression, because you are actually sending the carrier here AC cos omega ct, and you have the modulated part as well. But this is the fact that here in narrowband FM you are generating a frequency modulated wave using amplitude modulation. If you look at this expression carefully, you are just seeing that you are transmitting carrier AC cos omega ct, and here the only fact remains that the signal gt is actually the integral of mt, and that you are basically multiplying with sine omega ct. Okay, so if someone were to generate narrowband FM, okay, the scheme to generate narrowband FM is what? First, you have to generate GT. All right, so you have MT over here, and you integrate that to get GT. Okay, once you have GT, what you can do? You basically do the modulation of this signal with a phase shifted carrier. So if you are say having cos omega ct over here, okay, so you do the 90-degree phase shift, and then you are basically modulating it over here. Let me just write it. Okay, once you have modulated gt with sine omega ct, okay, you can basically take it with a negative sign, and then you can add the cos omega ct part. All right, so what you get over here is nothing but narrowband FM. Okay, so this was the case with narrowband FM, and what we have basically done is we have approximated your this part, e to the power j kf gt. Okay, if you don't approximate e to the power j kf gt, you are considering that kf is larger than 1. Okay, in that case we basically take the Fourier series expansion of this signal. Okay, now we all know that Fourier series is basically for your periodic signals, periodic continuous signals. Okay, so here also you are basically expanding this part as a Fourier series format. So instead of e power j kf gt, we would write this as, okay, so now we can say the narrow band FM is done, so we can go towards the wide band FM. Okay, again I'm going to write the same expression, right? Your phi FMT is nothing but the real part of AC e to the power j omega ct plus kf gt. Mind you, we are taking gt, which is the integral of, right, and here gt is nothing but the integral of mt. Okay, so now instead of taking the approximation of e to the power j kf gt as 1 plus kf gt, which we took in kf less than 1, here your kf is greater than 1. Okay, so in this case what you can write this as real part of e to the power j omega ct, right, plus your sigma jn mf. Here basically mf is the modulating index of your wave, e to the power jn omega mt or not t, whatever. Okay, so this is basically the Fourier series notation of your e to the power j kf mt. Okay, and since we are talking about real part, so we know that the real part of complex exponential is basically cos. So here it basically becomes as sigma jn mf cos omega c plus n times omega mt. Okay, this is nothing but the nth order Bessel's equation. Okay, and here basically we have considered our signal to be mf sine omega mt. Okay, if you are not, say here our mt or gt is basically mf sine omega mt. All right, in this case it basically becomes something like this. So as you can see, this is nothing but the expression of your wideband FM. Okay, so the conclusion that we can have from the notation of wideband FM and your narrowband FM is that narrowband FM has finite bandwidth. You can see that over here. This basically will give you a lobe both towards the omega c plus your something that would be the bandwidth of this signal, and a lobe behind omega c in case of narrowband FM. But here in case of wideband FM, you are not having just one component. There are several frequency components. Okay, so we can say that the bandwidth of wideband FM basically tends to infinity, but not that of narrowband FM. All right, and similarly, because in case of your narrowband FM, the bandwidth will basically follow the rule of amplitude modulation. As you can see from the notation of narrowband FM, it is having the same mathematical format as that of double sideband with carrier, the DSB-C, right? So in this case of wideband FM, what we had done is that there is an empirical formula for calculating your bandwidth in case of wideband FM, and that is denoted by your Carson's rule. Okay, so Carson's rule basically suggests that, okay, here we basically take the maximum bandwidth that is majorly impacting your wideband FM. Okay, so Carson's rule basically says that your bandwidth is twice of delta omega plus omega m. Okay, what delta omega is, this is nothing but the frequency deviation, and omega m is basically the maximum frequency of modulating signal. All right, so what we can say from here, that your bandwidth in case of wideband FM is majorly dependent on the frequency deviation, okay, and the maximum frequency of the modulating signal. All right, so if I were to write the same notation in terms of the modulating index, so we have just seen that modulating index m is basically delta f upon, or say we are dealing with omega over here, so we can say that it is basically delta omega upon omega c. This is nothing but my m, right? So this we know Therefore, we can say that delta omega is nothing but m times of omega c. Okay, so the same thing can be written as twice of m times of omega c plus your omega m, which is nothing but the maximum frequency of my modulating signal. All right, so this was basically the empirical format of your Carson's rule. Okay, all right, so I will end it over here, and if you have any doubts, please comment in the comment section.